through. So here's our map veto up on the board, and you'll see the auto bans because, well, teams played maps last week. Between Liquid and INTZ, they played different maps. So, of course, between Cafe and Consulate, they will be removed. And I did not see what the final map was.
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse, hey!
We have a new map to end the day. We don't have any duplicates. We had Bank twice today, but then we had Cafe second. And now we have Clubhouse, so it's a new thing. We're going to see a new thing. Clubhouse is always a map that I enjoy casting, so it's good to have it up on the board. We also have a community vote for you. Who's going to win this? Liquid, probably the most popular Latin America org.
Yeah.
And wow, would you look at that? 86%, even though INTZ was not a bad team last week.
No, but I mean, if you look at the way Immortals played this week, and INTZ got also destroyed by Team 1 in week number 1, and yeah, overall, historically speaking, yeah, you can look at one game, but you can't just use that as your basis for everything, unlike what some people like to say. So, living off of pure mathematics, we get to the conclusion that Team Liquid definitely has the advantage in it.
I think that's correct. Yeah, I think that's correct. I think Liquid are definitely coming in as the favorites, though don't sleep on INTZ. We saw that last week. You can't write this team out. But with no further delay, no further ado, we'll get into Clubhouse. It's funny that the map flight is at night, even though we played during the day.
Yeah.
And then all the graphics as well are in the night because it's darker in some of the areas, and it's because it's...
I mean, you can't see if the shots in the basement are in the night or not.
INTZ is going to be defending first, my good friend, and they are going to ban a hard breacher, which is not that weird.
It's Maverick. It's pretty normal, actually. The second operator is usually always up in the air. Is it going to be Lion Jackal? Is it going to be Thatcher? Yes, it will be Thatcher. So far, Thatcher is really on the chopping block for this evening.
Latin America really does not like Thatcher at all.
Maybe they like laser sights. Who knows?
Echo also. Echo, Mira, and Thatcher have been banned in every single match. And there's been a hard breacher banned in 3 now. Hibana banned twice. This is likely going to be Mira.
Ooh,
no!
What?
Valkyrie.
In Latin America.
Alrighty then.
Alrighty then.
Mira will be playable for the very first time.
Will she be played is the big question.
I would assume as much.
We can continue speaking in this way.
I mean, I don't need to. We don't need to.
Really? We're in the Ace Ventura point at this point. So, as I mentioned, Team Liquid will start off on the attack because Thatcher is banned, and also because you see very clearly that the Maverick is also removed. This really puts the attacking side to a bit of a disadvantage, I want to say.
I mean, banning Maverick is one thing, and then banning Thatcher is another, because without a Thatcher on this map, usually Maverick is used in, that instance, and you're not going to have either of them. Also, the redheaded stepchild of the sites here, Gym and Master Bedroom, is going to be the show, or the place, site of our first showdown, with INTZ picking an interesting one. Now, keep in mind, how do you take out the jacuzzi wall when you don't have a Thatcher or a Maverick? Well, the short answer is good luck. How are you going to be able to do it? Maybe drop logistics, try to shoot out any bandit batteries. Keep in mind the jacuzzi wall does not have the ability for you to lob a grenade over top of it any longer.
Oh no, I'm so glad that you can't do the impact tricking, grenading that you used to do back in the day. This is a very good change. Another thing I want to talk about is how some teams have been running both a bandit and a Qaid on this site. It really allows them to deal with any sort of exterior pressure, especially when you actually might be expecting to face a Hibana plus a Thermite on the other side. It also gives you much more flexibility if you were to reinforce one of the important walls either into cache or from jacuzzi into the hallway itself and so into gym. It really depends on what you would like to do in that situation. And again, it really is because of that Thatcher ban that you see the sort of big flexibility coming out from the defenders where they can run the castle as well. It really blocks off a ton of the lines of sight Castle is a very important operator, and more so on this side specifically. More often than not, when teams don't bring him, they end up exposing themselves a bit too much, but because of the fact that Neska is bringing the Sledge, he can make short work of at least the ones that are on the windows, which are usually your initial block.
It's like really next to no way to get those bandit batteries, bar rolling a frag grenade in, taking out the shield, and then rolling a second one in. But even then, with the way the bandit batteries are positioned, it might not be possible at all. It's going to be challenging, unless you can take out the shield and then just go from the gym window. But yeah, if you've got a castle on the board and that gym window is castled off, then you're in dire straits as an attacker here. So Liquid don't really know how to tackle this for the time being, as they gathered around the jacuzzi wall, but realizing the shortcomings of that strategy, they've gone back onto drones and now moved on over towards the master side of things. Maringa will pick away at the very bottom here just to see if there's anybody playing underneath it. There is not. Might not be aware that there's a Mira on the board if they haven't droned her out. No, the board's taking some damage, so there's a possibility here that he's, I think, understanding that there's a Mira at this point.
Yes, that was an interesting grenade.
It was. It stopped my train of thought.
But at least the smoke will be eliminated. It's a pretty big kill here for Liquid in the round, and actually it's not a moment too soon. You look at it, 35 seconds left, and they're just now are using their utility. They're just now getting their kills, and everything's been reinforced. I mean, just finally, the bandit batteries have been eliminated. I think if it was brought here instead of the bandit, it would be even more difficult to deal with it. But the castle barricade is, for some reason, not destroyed. I'm not sure where those grenades are disappearing. Is there a hole into the netherworld through this? 12 seconds left as the Maestro's Alda has been spotted. Boar will find one kill. Drunks with another. Duds for a peek out on PSK. And the whole round has just been lost. Liquid are on their own. Diffuser so far away. And Maringa definitely not ready for this.
Good callback.
Yes.
INTZ taking round number 1 and getting the better of Liquid almost every step of the execute. I would say they got the better of them when Liquid realized they didn't have an answer to tackle the jacuzzi wall, and at that point, after 90 seconds in, where do you move your pieces on the board? Well, you move them over to the balcony that's looking into bedroom, you're looking into gym. You don't really have control of logistics, construction isn't really going your way. Liquid did not necessarily read that setup well enough, I think, to be able to adapt to what was being brought from INTZ, and then in the mid-round, when I think Liquid understood where to go, it was too little time. So, instead of going down to church, it's going to be another second floor defense. It's going to be in the CCTV cache site. And you're going to bring a Mira as well. Now, we haven't seen a great deal of work as to where Mira is going to go on CCTV and cache. A lot of teams will possibly put a Mira inside of garage, facing over towards the double window and cache. Some will put a Mira window over at the top of red stairs, positioned near where Boar is, looking in to catch anybody should they pressure from construction. Some teams can get a little bit more adaptive or even aggressive, putting a Mira window on the double wall that leads outside. It really depends. And Liquid has never been a team to shy away from, I guess you could say, interesting ways to utilize those Mira windows.
It's a very, very broad word and definition, but yes, indeed, interesting is the point for it. And Dud's actually waiting for a vault out here from what we used to call Adam Spot, at least.
I remember.
Literally a week after it all got changed for Adam. So, Dud's just sitting and waiting around by the blue stairs. Nobody moving in so far. He's not getting any calls for it, so there's no reason for him to move out. And actually, Drunks will find a call on PSK. The Thermite has been eliminated. Literally, your only hard breach is already down, but at least for Liquid, they're able to open up the main entryway to the garage. The Lion firing in the back. A Sexy Cake will take so much damage. It will be forced away. Paulo coming in as well to support his teammate. Honestly, I like the fact that finally someone is using Lion, but I really don't think that this is the play right now. When you're lacking a lot of that hard breach flexibility and there's so much to destroy on this map.
I would agree with this. I don't think that Lion is necessarily what they need. I think they need a greater emphasis and focus on utility, and Lion's utility in terms of killing, fine. But Liquid never really struggles to have that, and it's very rare for a team to only run a singular hard breacher on Clubhouse. we just really don't see it that much. A lot of times when Thermite or Hibana is banned, Maverick is a necessity alongside the other hard breacher, and especially on a site like this. Liquid right now don't seem to have an answer for the way that INTZ is playing. And big credit to INTZ for the way that they have obviously positioned their defense and utilized the operator bans to great success. It was INTZ that banned the Maverick, which meant that the Thatcher could have been particularly useful, but Liquid decided to go against it. For my count, that's all of the Lion charges. Palu finds Boar, and here the asphyxiating bolt going off as well as the Maestro, who plays inside a garage, is dispatched. He'll no longer be a worry or concern. Neither will his Evil Eyes, though. They'll be locked in place. Sexy Cake still waiting for the rotate there on blue. Very patient. This essentially sets us up for a 3v4. As Nesk will now slowly, just carefully, teeter on over towards the bar hatch. As Sledge, he's able to open up anything he needs to with soft destruction, and he's going to lose the fight to Duds as he reads the situation oh so effectively. There's too many bodies inside a garage for Duds to be able to contend with. Liquid have the last EOD, so my counts were wrong. Won't be able to do all that much, even though there are some pings. The next guns down Palu, and the vault on in. Sexy Cake will somehow get away alive. It's going to come down to Moringa just watching. He'll catch the bandit, but down goes Sexy Cake to Drunks, and Moringa is on deck next. I think you said, are you ready for this? Well, he's going to need to be because he's 1 second over. He reads the Mira, but he can't take the fight, and VNX will be able to just get a couple more bullets into the body, leaving Moringa in a hopeless situation, and that's 2 so far for INTZ.
The strategy so far has been from Liquid to open some sort of wall or breach, walk, and then there's a third point and then a 4 that says profit. But that third point, it's kind of not existent. It's just interrogation marks, and you don't really know what it is. And unfortunately, running in up the stairs and hoping that you're able to go and plant with no cross angle, no nothing, no control windows, no pressure on the back stairs because you lost Nesk to the flank, no clear. You have the Lion, yet the Jaeger is still allowed to just maneuver around the map until he does way too much damage. And by the time he actually comes back into the garage, he's already killed one player. He's delayed you so much. The Lion had already taken damage earlier on. Like, in general, it's just not a fun time at all. Liquid really felt it in those first 2 rounds, and INTZ, of course, are playing off of the fact that there's a Thatcher and a Maverick that are banned. It just works so well for them, and that's how it's supposed to be done. So I wonder if this is not just Team Liquid falling apart at the seams because of the fact that the utility that they would usually have access to is just not there, and it would be very understandable. However, their adaptation to it has been to force gunfights, and unfortunately the gunplay is just not there just yet. Maybe it's taking a bit of time to warm on up. They haven't really been able to crack through INTZ, and their moves have been fairly telegraphed.
Yeah. INTZ has had Liquid's number every single step of the way, and I really respect and appreciate the way that INTZ has, or INTZ has come out basically firing on all cylinders here. I don't think Liquid were expecting INTZ, or I keep calling them INTZ, INTZ to be as prepared and maybe as well read into Liquid as possible. Keep in mind that Liquid are still trying to work Moringa into the fold, and by losing Zig, and Zig doing some calling when he was on the team, that there's obviously going to be a deficit of possibly leadership or of overall understanding of the strats. And this is something that Liquid will figure out, I'm sure. They've long been one of the best teams in the region. It wouldn't be too surprising to see them back in top form soon. But with it being a church defense downstairs, you're expecting very similar things to the basement of Bank. You're going to have people playing in very secure areas where they don't really need to worry too much about roaming. You don't need to worry too much about map control, because the control that you need is going to come in the reinforced hatches and then in the actual play once you've been able to drone out all of Clubhouse. Clubhouse is harder to drone out this time around because the top floor is connected, so you might miss a roamer or overlook 1 or 2. Their Liquid will be able to determine if there's somebody from INTZ playing off-site is a good question. Additionally, Mozzie will make it more challenging to get into the nitty-gritty of the actual site because there will likely be pests there to stop them.
I mean, we saw the effect that Mozzie had on Cafe. We saw the duo between Mozzie and the Mute, how effective it was. Now, the big thing that I'm afraid of here for INTZ is the fact that the usual reinforced wall in the hallway into Armory is left soft. So it opens up possibilities for Team Liquid later on. However, Paulo is just able to walk on in as the wall had already been opened by the Thermite PSK here into the dirt tunnel, and Ness will actually run on down. Tries to find some sort of entry from there. There's not much time, Parker. This is really not working out well for Liquid, and this is the contingency plan. This is plan C and D all up rolled into one. Duds won't take any damage from the crossbow bolt that's been thrown at his feet. So Moringa will probably try to drop down here to the oil pit. Flashbang will be thrown in as Intact, Duds, and Boar will find a kill very quickly. Each one of them. PSK with one. Another one for him. This goes in for the pre-fire. 4 seconds left. The diffuser is so far away. Nobody's speaking against him. Even if we were to kill 2 of them, it wouldn't be enough. And VNX turns around with a P10 Roni and turns PSK into some burnt macaroni. What rhymes with Roni?
Not really required to get that very final kill, though, as the diffuser was so far away. Liquid really struggling on their own. 40 seconds left, and they just couldn't put anything together. And this is now the 3rd round in a row where Liquid have looked lost when it comes to how do you go after INTZ's defenses. And huge props to INTZ. Like I said in the first round, and I said in the second round, and I will continue to say every single round. INTZ have done their homework. They have set up Clubhouse in a way that right now these operator bans are showing a massive and glaring weakness from Team Liquid, and that is communication and how to pull things off. Now, Liquid, at their best, were a team that thrived under the old Lion meta. You go back to Atlantic City when Team Liquid won the Pro League Championships. How did they do so? Well, they used Lion an awful lot. They looked very well coordinated. They timed their pushes, and Nesk was always able to find an opening against even the best teams on defense. Hasn't really been the case here. Nesk's gun has actually been fairly quiet in terms of impactful kills. And because of this, Team Liquid doesn't really have that opening fragger that they need to break the game open in their favor. A lot of that rests squarely on the shoulders of INTZ's defense. They have done an exemplary job of cutting off opportunities for Liquid to take away map control, to get an opening pick, to use their utility effectively, and every single gadget that has been used by INTZ so far has been used very well to thwart Liquid, even at the start of rounds, mid-rounds, end of rounds, and so on. And it's been fun to watch, fascinating to watch. If this Duds goes undroned here, this could potentially be an issue. The castle's in a really tough spot. This might be a mistake for Duds, but it looks like he'll be able to get out of dodge.
He just keeps firing down, and it's taken a while here to chew through the wall. At least a bit of damage has been done, I have to say, but INTZ just sitting pretty, and they're burning time by actually not needing to do much. Literally a reinforcement is all that they need. The big thing for Liquid is they really need to break through this castle barricade and the shield. I really don't know if in the last attempt from Liquid on this site, it was because the grenade somehow didn't work against the castle barricade, which is a very odd thing to see. But it definitely had an effect on the round as a whole, as it did force Liquid to just dive on into the bedroom and hope for Hail Mary. So far, nothing really is even possible to be opened because of the lack of Thatcher. And unless you're using Zofia in combination with other operators to burn off any ADSs from Bor, then it's going to be tough. At the halfway mark, however, Nesk is able to at least open up the castle barricade, but those are both of his lifelines up and away out. Not sure if there was already a barricade that was set on the gym window, but if there was, this is where you'd like to have a breaching charge. It would have been fantastic to kind of still give you more flexibility with your utility later on in the round, and we would have been able to take out the shield where the bandit is usually hiding. We're at a minute mark. Still a decent chunk to do here for Liquid, as there hasn't been a single opening. INTZ really playing this so slowly. Liquid might be at least able to force them out. Nesk, there we go, finally finding the entry. Duds eliminated, but that's only the castle.
What you need to do. I mean, Duds was a wanted man right from the onset when he was playing inside a cache the way he was, watching the entire wall fall in front of him from the buck, and he managed to survive for, I think, a lot longer than people were anticipating. But another kill for Liquid, and this is their best opportunity to close out a round. It'll be answered by Boar as Ness goes down, and a second for the Jaeger. He is on a roll right now. Drunks hasn't been found either, and he can play around that deployable shield all the way to the gym. Boar still inside of construction. He might go undetected for the time being. Paulo creeps on up. PSK slaps down intact. A beautiful read, but PSK will need to fall from behind it. Another comes out, but it's from Drunks as Boar gets in on the action. It's all up to PSK as Moringa's been downed, and it's a 2v1. Diffuser will need to go down, and PSK is now essentially a dead man. It's 4 kills for Boar, and Liquid find themselves down 4-0 with INTZ controlling every facet of this matchup and every defense so far.
This really reminds me of Team Liquid versus Red Devils last season on Villa, where Liquid were just throwing everything they have at a wall and hoping something would stick instead of actually using the normal strategy of, hey, we'll just play the flank and then that should pretty much work. We'll throw everything literally at a reinforced wall and try to play against it. In that case, I don't believe the Thatcher was banned, but here, I don't think there's a way to deny the effect that the operator has been having. If he wasn't there, or if he were available, then Liquid would have had a much easier time entering. But they're the ones that banned him. So when you know you're starting off on the attack, maybe you shouldn't gimp yourself like that. I wonder, again, if this will be the same situation for INTZ once they head over to the attacking side, as it is now for Liquid. In esports in general, it's not an uncommon sight to see maps that are so heavily one-sided in terms of attack/defense, but because there's that rotation between the two, it evens out. Or you're looking at a match in terms of a series. Unfortunately, we don't have that here. So the operator bans really weigh so heavily into it, and I really have to wonder yet again if it's not just Liquid shooting themselves in the foot. At least what they're bringing now is the 2 Heart Breachers. This has been something they've been doing for the past couple rounds, so removing the Lion after the first couple failed round. And it's been giving them a bit more of a potential to enter onto the site itself, but then the execution on it just seems like they have no information on the players inside, and they just end up shot by Boar or anybody who's around from INTZ.
I don't know if anybody here has seen Duds at all. I don't know if Sexy Cake has droned him out. I'd be tempted to try and get into a tussle with Duds, who's on blue stairs, but will creep on down. Nomad and Nesk takes out Drunks, and you've got your opening pick for Liquid. 1 minute on the clock, and Liquid finds themselves with an advantage. They found themselves with an advantage last round, but it didn't really go all that far, as INTZ had enough bodies left at the end of the round to conclude in the way that they wanted it to. Still, Duds may not have gone noticed. Sexy Cake appears to be in pursuit, so you might think that Duds is playing in some position nearby. Keep in mind, this is a CCTV defense. So as much work as Liquid is going to do on that main floor, they'll have to tackle the challenge, which is above. You know that you've got what appears to be the mirror at the top of Red playing quite aggressively. She'll lose that fight against a better equipped ACOG if that Vector isn't able to hit a headshot, because he'll be doing very minimal damage to a part of the body where the ACOG will be able to hit in the head once or twice. And Sexy Cake isn't the type of person who misses his shots when under pressure, so I'd be very wary of taking that fight if I happen to be VNX.
One thing we have to mention, because we haven't touched up on it today, is if you check the railings in pretty much every position, either on the stairs or here up on the catwalk, you can't do the same shots as you could before with your tight angle. Oh, what a shot. Well done from Paulo. He finds the head, but at what cost? There's so much damage done to him. INTZ are losing 2 players here, but there's 35 seconds lost, and no! They're peeking against them. You're giving them the advantage. INTZ, what are you doing? It's not too intrepid of you, is it? Duds will still find a kill and will drop Paulo. It's at least something that you can be happy with. And Moringa and Nesk, look at how low on HP they are. Very doable for INTZ with so little time. And the split from Liquid. Go in for the plant. Duds keeps firing through the smoke because he can't hit anybody in the back. PSA comes in, but Nesk, perfect timing. He comes in with the ARX shot. The head clean off of VNX. Pre-fire from Duds around the corner. We'll find him and even into the smoke. They've got an evil eye right in the garage to give Duds information. Is try to creepy crawly his way up through into the site, and then unfortunately gets shot by Sexy Cake. There's not much that he can do. Every single angle being held by Liquid, and they have successfully done this here, Liquid. It took them a while, but maybe this one round can really shift the entire game. I mean, I remember back in the day where it was so attacker-sided at times on Clubhouse, where a single adaptation and a round won by the defense could flip the entire match on its head.
I think if Duds hits that shot on the Hibana outside, he has a pretty good opportunity to win that entire round. Because he knows his cross isn't covered. The remaining two bodies are inside a garage. They had that information from INTZ's perspective because of the Maestro cameras that were set up. So at that point, you just need to watch one of two ways back into garage, which is either the rotate hole, in which the Capital was one shot, and then the Thermite who was playing by the window, who would have had to vault on in. So it was winnable. Duds putting in the best Herculean effort he could to try and elevate the rest of his team, but it was all for naught. And the bigger issue for INTZ was that they were so sequestered at the top of Red Stairs, with both the Mira as well as the Thermite, or the Jaeger being in a position to not be able to stop the Thermite when he moved on in. And wading through the smoke is always a terrifying situation to find yourself in. So, where do you go? Back downstairs. Final defense for INTZ, setting up our 6th round before we switch sides, and it's going to be a church defense for INTZ. After you lost CCTV cache, I think that's a smart move to make. Take an opportunity to maybe spawn peek. That's what Duds is going to do. It's a cheeky angle, and we can see from the silhouettes that, well, Liquid's moved off, and Duds is just wasting his time.
Maybe for now, a couple shots have been fired in. And that's pretty much it. Actually, no, he hasn't fired a single bullet. It's something else that was fired upon, or fired. Yeah. Ness comes on in with the Twitch. And they want to take control of the bottom side here, the stock area. As you see, there's one player that was playing inside of it. Boar is also close up here to support his teammate in that very same position. Liquid are kind of flabbergasted. It's always a bit difficult to figure out how to deal with your opponents when they decide to roam on a church defense. Sometimes it's as easy as walking on the site, something that Liquid has done in the past on other maps as well. And some other times, you just kind of fall face first on the floor because you're unsure of how to deal with your opponents in such situations. And it might turn into a possibility of you just losing out. And Moringa, great shot here through the drone hole downstairs in the construction tunnel, and the COD has just been lost. I'm not sure why he was so close up to the drone hole. Actually, seems a bit odd. PSK will be able to open up the Thermite wall downstairs, and Duds will find a kill on PSK. So at least eliminating the Thermite. Oh, this is actually pretty huge. At least what you can do here, be happy about if you're Liquid, is that the Hibana is still there, but the damage has been done. Moringa drops 2 here as he enters the site. It's in control for Liquid, but they need the diffuser, and Moringa's all on his own. The diffuser is so far back. Duds and VNX can literally sit on that diffuser, babysit it like a mother hen, because it is not moving from this spot anytime soon. Flashbang thrown in, fire from above, and Moringa somehow finds it, turns around. The quad kill, Duds. Whew! I got a bit too close for comfort. INTZ finish off the round.
That was a great play by Moringa, a good hero effort as Duds was able to get the read on the very end tail of that push from Liquid. And Duds has really been keeping INTZ in this every single round, no matter what. He has been a star so far in this matchup. And I would imagine that he's sitting quite comfortably at the top of the leaderboard for his team. I mean, at the same time, Boar did get that 4K, so that'll definitely work on the stats from that perspective. But a potentially disastrous first half for Liquid. Yes, Clubhouse does tend to be more defender-sided. Yes, Clubhouse, especially depending on the bans, can skew in favor of the defense extremely quickly. And with the Thatcher and Maverick ban, you'd have to imagine that the defense have a huge advantage. INTZ banned out Valkyrie, though. And number one, we know that Liquid likes to run Valkyrie, so it's obviously a targeted ban towards them. But how much will it affect the rest of Liquid's defense? Because Liquid are, right now, on the verge of going down to match point in favor of INTZ. INTZ are smartly bringing 2 hard breachers, which was something that you need to see from people all the time.
Well, the big question now is, will INTZ be able to diverge from the situation that Liquid were in on their attacking side? The Thatcher not being available, I think, was definitely something that put Liquid on tilt. And if you look at specifically that final round on the first half, you kind of see that it wasn't really just the Thatcher, because they had the Thermite, they had the Habana. It was just Liquid actually not knowing how to adapt to their opponents, which is an odd thing to say, actually, in one sentence. It's not something that would usually happen to such a team. But here we are. It's current year, and things like this happen. Nesk by the stairs, got a castle barricade as well in the bathroom, and nobody's getting in there. It's definitely a terrible thing. Imagine a castle barricade in a bar in the middle of the night. That sounds awful. But Sexy Cake with the AUG 3 in hand is gonna hold on to the blue stairs so far. Apollo as well is up on it. I like this from Liquid. They're running something similar to what INTZ is doing. A lot of teams have been trying this out, but have so far been unsuccessful. It's a lot of flexibility. I think it requires Castle to be as effective as it might be in this round, but you also need to hit your shots, and Sexy Cake loses the engagement against Intact. Not sure if it was the AUG, but that low rate of fire compared with the low damage just leaves the Capital up and alive. Paolo taking so much damage here on the entry, and Dutch from behind fires right into him. There is no way Paolo could have survived that in any way, shape, or form. Grenade cooked from VNX up and around and above the reinforced wall. Now it's the Castle on his own as Nesk goes up to the top floor, spotted by the drone, will have to fall back down to church.
This will be a challenge for PSK to get out of this alive, as he's wasting an awful lot of time. It's so rare to see teams defend this first floor. It's almost always something that we look back on in hindsight and say, well, it wasn't exactly the smartest idea. And Liquid is very committed to this full court press. They've got a body at main stairs. They've got one inside of the lobby by the bar. That leaves only Nesk alive on site, or possibly even Moringa, as Nesk was the one playing on the stairs. So it is Moringa inside of sight. Nesk has made his way back down, so he's going to continue to probably try and get towards the site as quickly as he can. PSK losing the fight to Billiards, and then finished off as there goes Nesk as well. And it's a flawless round to guarantee INTZ 1 point. INTZ, last match, won 7-0. And now they are on the verge of possibly winning 7-1. And against a very good team in Liquid. It was Immortals last week. It's Liquid this week. That is scary to think that INTZ might also be a team that is now going to show the other teams in Latin America just how good they can be.
It's very close. It's way too close for comfort. And we walked into this saying, you know, Liquid have such a huge advantage. It should all be done and dusted. And then the big surprise that really caused the entire match to be flipped on its head. Liquid will go back down to church. They're going to need to pray to God for this one.
Yes, a church pun with God involved. Yes, I got it. I got it. I understand.
I just like looking into your eyes, Parker.
I understood it. We've said that, you know, they'll pray at the church, etc.
It's etc. 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 You know what they say? INTZ have a certain je ne sais quoi about them tonight. It's very interesting to watch, to use a very non-discriminatory word. So, Liquid will continue on here in the reinforcements. It's all pretty stock standard. Nesk is playing Mozzie. We've seen so much Mozzie today. It's pretty cool to see new ops being played so much outside of back when Lion was released. So that's always a breath of fresh air. It seems like Zofia has completely replaced Ashe as well. This is a conversation we used to have in the day, but I guess at this point it's kind of known. It's a reality that we live in. Current year again. Igor keep playing along the side of the blue stairs and fall back down whenever needed. Sexy Cake on the AUG, back into Armory, and Liquid are playing very, very defensive. They're relying on Nesk for an opener. What is happening? Liquid are just not giving much to Nesk to play with for him to really shine.
Usually Nesk thrives in a situation where the rest of his team is there to back him up, and in fact Liquid have received criticism in the past for, I suppose, playing around and relying on Nesk more than just about anybody else. And the man has consumed games against the best opponents in the world. First bit of hard destruction is going to go off, and the next step for INTZ is going to be get down to the church wall and go from there. Nesk has managed to make his way back to safety, though, as Liquid are standing pat, and Duds goes for broke, gets caught out by Palu. Not exactly sure what Duds was trying there. I think he might have got droned in and assumed that Palu was looking the wrong way, but it's a bit of a gamble. You got a lot of runway to work with here if you're INTZ. You know, you got 5 rounds in a row that Liquid is going to need to win. And Drunks is waiting to see if there's going to be anybody down below, and 2 of the XK rows are going to go off. He might be able to get some more to go. Only 2 will go off, but you need 4 to open up the hatch, and that'll be it. So it takes 2 rounds of XK rows, but you've got a greater opportunity to now drop into the kitchen.
And it works well. Of course, you still have the thermite, so it gives you flexibility. That's why you still have the 2 operators being run. It's something we used to see all the time back in the good old days, at least before Maverick was introduced. Good or bad, depending on what you think. Zofia being eliminated early on is pretty odd. Duds kind of just threw himself out there. He didn't use any of his utility. Seemed like there was nothing really to back up this push. Intact will take quite a bit of damage on the cross as Paulo's right next to him. Up to the green box in Armory, all the way in the back of it. VNX on the peak as well from Moto, but he won't find anyone to respond and fire into. Is Paula actually going to catch another person doing the same exact thing? VNX will take a bit of damage here, inhaling the smoke, but they'll have to rush on in, and they just meet a hail of fire. Drunks will find 1 kill, but he's already so low on HP, and Sexy Cake with a 44 Magnum far away. Land the 1 shot needed. Liquid secure a 2nd round, but this means that the site is no longer available, at least for another few rounds. So where will Liquid choose to go to? Cache? I assume then that's going to be the position that they choose to. And there you go, CCTV cache. Makes sense. Meister is going to be picked up. No donk, as we used to see back in the day with a lot of those bulletproof cameras put in play. No longer having any of that. Clyde, again, will be brought out by Liquid. Last time it was Sexy Cake running it, but he'll be on the Maestro for the round. Not sure if we'll see any 6 picks out of this. It looks like a pretty cut and dry setup, and they'll also bring the Bandit to make sure that there is no way in hell that Liquid are able to enter.
No, Cache, CCTV, and Jim become just such a hard way to get in, given the fact that there is no Thatcher and there is no Maverick. The Maverick tool to cut open half of the reinforcement and then allow soft destruction to reign supreme is one that is becoming more and more commonplace and popular, to the point now where I'd say we're seeing it just about every single matchup that Maverick is required on. The one thing here is that if all of the garage wall is not reinforced, if you can take garage and maybe put 1 body in construction, you don't necessarily need to worry about the 3 breach denial operators or just general gadget denial operators that exist in Palu, PSK, and Moringa. Keep in mind, a Bandit and a Kaid together proves to be quite an, unstoppable force, or an immovable object, I suppose, in this case. But then when you add Palu into the mix, well, he's going to probably be focused on simply trying to hold down a specific area and stall out as much time as possible. That would be my assumption, at least, given the fact that you don't necessarily need the mute to stop any entry in through the cache wall, the construction wall, etc. Also, because of the way that Electric Claws work, Kaid can sit farther back and trick the wall if he needs to, or you need to have Bandit just sit there and actively trick. What's the best way to choose or to chase a bandit off that wall? A Maverick. And what's not available? A Maverick. So you're likely going to need to put somebody on the other side of the wall, which is where Drunks is looking right now. It's going to shoot out the window that leads to the southern side of the CCTV room. Cat, wait for possibly a push on into Cash. Paulu's inside of construction heading on over to Cash himself, and there's been one exothermic charge that's gone off. The assumption being that this has been on the garage wall down below the Maestro playing inside of the garage.
Now the big question is, will INTZ fall into the same trap that Liquid were in? The Bucks is going to be very important for this, and not having him downstairs by the stockroom, opening things up, destroying utility from below, is going to get pretty complicated. Again, even if he does do that, you'll have to deal with the Ertilas that'll be thrown at some point, and that's why you bring the operator. Grenade is going to get thrown in the back, and now you don't really need the Buck in that situation. There's ADSs that have already been cleared, and here's the Ertila that gets activated before the thermite charge is able to detonate. The second one will be thrown out. It's very difficult to reach anything there just because it's an expansive radius. So this might force INTZ to now push in through the catwalk, and unfortunately for them, Sexy Cake is ready. He has info and is just hammering away at those drones, removing them. It's a good thing that defenders up in that position on the catwalk do not have the angles that they used to with the tight holes that have been opened inside of the catwalk railing. Sexy Cake can remove damage from the Capital, but really nowhere near enough to kill him just yet, and time is just running out.
Sexy Cake could have very easily been drawn there as his head was exposed over top of the railing and have been swiftly removed. That'll be Duds collecting the scalp that he was looking for. And now INTZ, with only 25 seconds left, will have to translate on over to the rest of the garage. It's very tough to be able to pull this off in time. VNX will move on over on his own as Drunks tries to run up the stairs, and there's PSK traded off from Intact, but they will perfectly trade. Intact is waiting for another, but Boar will shut Nesk down. It's all up to VNX now, who will rush on in, and it's a 1v1 with Moringa, who will try to play keep away, but he's got the pistol out, waiting around the doorway, and it's a beautiful one-tap onto VNX. Doesn't need too much there. A beautiful shot, one to the head, and Team Liquid will find two in a row now, closing this gap.
So really turning back at this point in time. Liquid are playing everything to their advantage. We had a similar round between the two when INTZ was on the defense where it got very hairy and very close. Very, again, similar situation in the very exact same site, on the very exact same style of push. Now the big question is gym bedroom. And will INTZ be faster on this site before compared to anything else? Otherwise, Liquid will have the ability to go back down to Church. And from that, INTZ so far has had a 50-50 kind of win rate on it. So they're going to have to be a bit more careful with it. What did Liquid bring? Oh, they don't bring a bandit. They only bring the Qa'id. Okay. That's pretty interesting. Means that the usual hallway of death will be kind of foregone. There's no castle as well to worry about. So in general, there's going to be a lot of windows that are very easy to use for INTZ. What they need to do here is immediately realize what they're in as a positive situation, clear out or at least pressure opponents in cash, and once they are done with that, then they can think about other things, because they won't have to worry about the entrance from Jacuzzi. They have all the utility for it as well. Actually, no, they don't. They only have the Thermite. They don't have that Habana. So they're gonna have to be actually careful with how they use their hard breach. Otherwise, they might find themselves in the same situation they were in the previous round, and there wasn't much flexibility left at the end of it. Even Garage actually being held here by the Jaeger of Team Liquid. There's a lot of possibilities for INTZ, but Liquid definitely running the advantage their way with that card.
It's going to be very difficult to take Jim as well, as we saw on the inverse when it was INTZ that was defending. And, I mean, maybe it just is that right now these operator bans are making it so the defense have such a large advantage that INTZ were able to run up the score as best as they could. The thing that bodes well for INTZ is that they can't lose this matchup. Of course, winning the very first of their attacks, knocking Liquid on the match point, and INTZ coming very close to giving Liquid an even bigger advantage in this particular instance. As you can hear, Palu and Drunks fighting against one another.
Moringa ready here to use his Electro Claw into the back as all the utility had been used. And you'd be expecting... Yes, there you go. You'd be expecting the wall to just stay in the exact place it's at. The Attila is not that easy to shoot in this position. You really have to expose yourself from the outside. There's a potential for it, but you're probably going to expose yourself to the smoke when trying to actually just shoot it on your own. Drunks takes so much damage. Oh, Nesk, beautiful shot. 45 HP out, intact. Removed from play the Capitao before he's able to do much.
INTZ has done what is required. Now it's rotate on over to construction and use that to the best of your advantage. If you cannot take logistics as well, then there's a singular doorway that you will have to try to fight through. Of course, it's likely that INTZ will dispatch 1 or 2 bodies on over to the window, but you don't have a ton of time left to play with. This will give Nesk an opportunity to push on up. He'll pick up kill number 2 onto Drunks after hearing the goo mine go off, and we can see the silhouette of one member of INTZ go on over towards the window. He'll continue to head on over in that direction as it's duds falling to Palu, and Liquid have themselves with one hell of a match right now. Coming back and trying to close this distance as quickly as they can. 30 seconds left, and it's a 5v2 favoring Team Liquid. As Nesk is still very much in play, 2 kills so far, looking towards the window. Palu and PSK holding another angle, and Nesk will pick up kill number 3, and Boar will win out the fight on PSK, but Nesk, a 4K, and Liquid with round number 10. That's 3 in a row. You're running out of runway now. I said there was a lot of runway before, but it's getting into dangerous territory. And INTZ, if they want to make it, they're going to need to pull up very quick.
And it's all working according to plan here for Liquid at this point. The max that they will get at the end of this match is 1 point, which is not great, especially considering the fact that they're up against some pretty tough competition in FaZe and NIP, who at least have gotten 1 point each, but Liquid are going into this playday at 3 points, which means 1 are way higher up, same for FaZe and NIP. So Liquid are really fighting for higher standings. And it might be unfortunate where even early on in the season you start losing games like this and you can't really get any points later on through it because the competition has changed, because new operators, maybe changes to maps. All of these sorts of things hinder you. You'd be expecting Liquid to kind of shore it up a bit better than this. But there's still possibility for a single point. So at least the redemption at the end of this game, if they so happen to be victorious in the next 2 rounds here on their defensive side. Mozzie and Qaid are in place, and for the Smoke, the Bandit, and the Jaeger. They're going to be playing downstairs in Church. I'm not sure if Liquid will continue to roam, or will they just leave Nesk on his own to do his thing. I mean, that's what he usually does, right? INTZ that have the extra redundancy of bringing the Thermite, the Hibana. I'd definitely be expecting some sort of pressure as well from the construction tunnel. There's a lot of potential possibilities from there. I know I've been saying those 2 words for quite a bit, but it's definitely here and very present. Sexy Cake setting himself up here as he opens up a bit of a larger hole to throw an impact grenade into later on. We saw the amount of work he did against Drunks' Hibana, but at least Liquid are not getting an early round advantage.
No, it's very important that INTZ put themselves in a position where they're not engaging Liquid unless they have proper information. And so far, INTZ's ability to gather and disseminate information on defense was very much superior to where they have found on attack. Liquid were their own worst enemy on this very first defensive Church down below, but they really seem to have figured out exactly how to prevent the same mistakes from occurring a second time. Hopefully, this is the second time here, even a third time, as this will be the 3rd defense of Church. INTZ dedicated to droning as much as possible, but you know where the usual suspects are going to be for the most part, especially when you attack Church as often as these teams do.
No, there you go. Don't. Good reflex. Good. Well done.
Spying the Electric Claw, the Hibana of Drunks is not going to be able to open it up, but instead Sexy Cake with the Magnum out is going to go possibly fishing. He's going to stare all the way up and hope to catch something on the other side. Dislodging this Electric Claw is going to be very difficult, and possibly expecting an impact trick, but VNX will miss his frag grenade, and that is a crucial blow. Only have one left to sail on down. He'll grab the Electric Claw. The Kaida Sexy Cake might have a second in his hand. He doesn't. So all he can rely upon is impact grenades for now to try an impact trick. But the clock is going to be the biggest enemy for INTZ here. And there the XK Roast go. Thwarted once again is INTZ. And the frustration must be starting to kick in now as another set of XK Roast go. Sexy Cake baited into an altercation, but he'll manage to avoid it for the time being. Doesn't have a third impact grenade, of course, so the Hatching Kitchen will go. But to an awful lot of cost, it will be. INTZ will now have to try to push their advantage since they have that kitchen hatch open. But man, oh man, the clock is not in their favor. 20 seconds, and Nesk will find the very first kill. It comes so late, but he's prepped for another. He'll watch the hole from above. Palu finds Duds, dropping to their death. Down goes the Capitao from intact. Drunks takes out Palu, but it might be too late. Trying in vain is Bor. Oh, he takes a head off of Nesk. He'll go for the plant, and he needs Drunks to cover. They have control. Drunks will find it on a PSK, but it's a double kill for PSK to push us to our 12th and final round. And so far, out of a day of all days, out of a possible 48 rounds we will play, 47 of them here in Latin America, waiting to see what happens in the very final round between Liquid and INTZ.
Very long evening here for everyone, really, but this match has definitely been a way to end the evening, to say the least. Liquid are on the cusp of a tie, but INTZ are not done just yet. The Thatcher ban is affecting and has affected both teams. And what'll be the big change? A Monty. We were expecting CCTV cash. Actually, the Monty makes a lot of sense. We've seen the CCTV cash take from Garage with the Monty. You know you're not going to be able to open up much of the wall, especially considering the fact that Sexy Cake has been so effective on his cut plays. In this case, he'll be running the Maestro, but it's not like Moringa has been doing any less of a job, to be honest, because he's been the operator or the player that it's been playing this op on this site, and he's done a pretty darn decent job at denying the balcony wall entrance, but also putting his foot down and stomping on INTZ when that is also required. So all is permissible here, and in the very final round, as you say, round 47 or potential 48 of the evening, INTZ will bring out the Monty. That's the big question. Will it be enough? Reinforcements are also being set on the opposite end of the map by the Jacuzzi entrance, really to make sure that if INTZ were to try and penetrate the defenses, that it costs them a lot of utility before they get to actually do so.
So what a bounce back here from Liquid. Really proving how much operator bans can affect a matchup. Now, we always knew this, and from the onset, it just looked like INTZ had every advantage in their favor. It really did seem like Liquid were completely lost. But they managed to regain their mojo and are showing signs of the old Liquid. Ness coming alive along with Palu in particular, who's had an incredible second half here. You'll need good performances for both. INTZ throwing basically everything at the wall in this time by bringing the Monty on Duds, which I think is a very suspect choice. Duds' gun has gone very quiet, so maybe throw him on there and hope that somebody else on the team can kind of shoulder that weight. But Duds was your best performer for most of this matchup. It's very surprising. Half of the round eclipsed for the time being, and INTZ are still waiting very patiently. So we're trying to flush out the Maestro sitting by the wall inside of Garage. Won't find anything. Nesk and Palu are over on the west side of the building, which is the gym side. Nesk is playing over by the stairs, and Palu is waiting over by construction. It's to be possibly an exothermic trick on the double wall, leading inside a server, and Moringa is perfectly positioned to throw another one if he needs to.
So, intact. Last time we saw him in the ingress here to the garage, is able to take Sexy Cake's head clean off. It's a very difficult shot to land, to say the least, and you see all of the drones are just being eliminated so easily. You really have to be careful when engaging Sexy Cake in this position. He's got all the utility in the world to clear your drones, and the only way to push him back is with this Monty. You would love to have Goo Mines in this situation, and the Monty takes so much damage here, Duds. He needs to be the one that facilitates the entrance and not the one that goes for the kills. He keeps firing in. Just Sexy Cake unable to find a single shot here to hit. Duds is somehow still alive in the back. Is intact. Finds Sexy Cake and finally takes him out. But Moringa, PSK, Paulo, and Nesk last and alive. 13 seconds left. Nitro Cell will block the damage in front of the Monty, but not for anyone behind him. PSK on the back stairs. Nesk finds one on board. He's firing in the back, but the Monty's blocking all the bullets. Moringa finds it, finds one as well as PSK, and last is a Monty alive as Liquid secure round number 12. And that's a 6-6 tie to end the day, ladies and gentlemen. As my good friend here, Parker, said it, in a potential 48 rounds, we go the 47 round distance, and Liquid claw it back